put the video or the intro on, and it's only 1 minute and 19 seconds. So, but that gives people time to come in.
Okay.
And this isn't a typical interview or Q&A. It's a conversation, so you're welcome to ask questions. Two brothers sitting down, getting to know each other in front of all of our brothers and sisters.
Okay. And I just, my new book just came out. I just re-released a new book.
Right on. You've written 2 books, right? Haven't you written 2?
I've written 4, but
4 books.
Yeah, but I just released one. It's a re-release to deal with what's happening in the country right now.
Oh, cool. We'll talk about that. All right, I'm going to play the intro real quick. Hello, everybody. 18 people in the house so far. We got an old friend, but a new friend sitting with us today, Malcolm Kelly. He's been contributing to the Soulogy group for a number of years, and I came across his stuff years ago. And it's unique, and it's uplifting and inspirational, and has a lot of common sense to it. So we're going to talk to him a little bit. But let me play the intro real quick. We'll be right back. Oh. We got Malcolm Kelly in the house. I don't know if y'all were here when before we played the intro, and Malcolm's been contributing to Soulogy in the group for many years. And when I used to be the only admin, I was very familiar with the people that were contributing consistently. And his stuff is very inspirational. It's very unique. It's powerful. It's down to earth, and it's been a long time coming, but welcome to the show, Malcolm. Thank you for coming in and honoring us with your presence, sharing space with us.
Thank you very much, Brother Todd. I appreciate it very much. It's been a long time coming, but it's wait because we now get to meet each other and talk face to face.
Right on. You're in the U.S., right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm in California.
Oh, you're in California.
Yeah.
Well, we got a Soulogy Fest coming May 28th through 31st in Sedona. It's the first one ever. You might want to check out our website, SoulogyFest.com. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of people that have been involved with Soulogy for a long time getting together. So I was looking at your page on Facebook, and it says Powers of the Mind Author. And you were telling me before the show that you've written 4 books. You just re-released one. We're going to talk about that. And the creator of a new system of thought to change how we think and live, right?
Correct.
Very cool. And then I saw this post also, blogtalkradio.com, Enlightenism, which I believe is the name of your creation, right? Enlightenism?
Correct. It's a new system of thought.
Right on. And it says Enlightenism Insights, a new way to think and live. So are you on the radio too?
Yes.
How often do you broadcast?
The blog? I write it at least. I try to do it at least once a week. I do the once a week, and then I do a radio broadcast on Blog Talk Radio 4 times a week, 4 days a week.
Man.
And it's all around disseminating the information for a new way to think and live.
Right on. So I know your new book is kind of specific to what's going on right now, like at the human level, right? But before we jump into that, I wanted to ask you, just to give us a brief summary, of what is Enlightenism.
But Enlightenism is a new way to think and live. And it came about because I wanted to find a different way to think and live. And I wanted to do it without relying upon others to tell me how to do it. And it's an unlearning what you have learned from others, and then creating a new belief system, which I call a new system of thought, to create a new person.
Yeah.
And to give this new person qualities, attributes, so that you can clearly understand that you have something in you greater than you, but it's not just something abstract. It's unconditioned consciousness, and it is this unconditioned consciousness is what we can use at any time in our lives to change the conditions in our lives. And the emphasis is always on you have the power to help yourself. And
Right
this
on, man.
power comes from what you think of yourself, your awareness of being. So my mantra is always, I am greater than the I that I created. I am greater than the person that I'm aware of being. I'm always greater than the person that I'm aware of being because I have the power to create a new awareness of being of myself.
That's a
And
wrap.
that's what Enlightenism is all about, is to break down the difficulties that many people feel that they cannot overcome in their lives unless they use the system of thought that victimized them in the first place. And the system of thought that I use was designed by others, and then I accepted this, affirmed this system of thought, and then I thought there was no way out of changing my life other than using the system of thought that victimized me in the first place. So Enlightenism is a new system of thought that you can use to change how you think and live. But you can't change how you think and live unless you let go of the system of thought that caused you to want to change your life in the first place. And
it sounds like sacred alchemy to me. You're taking the same system that's conditioned you and programmed you, and you're basically deprogramming and reprogramming through the power of thought. Would you say thought is our strength, our greatest strength? I mean, what would you say about thought?
Our strength is coming from the greater I, the greater person, the greater awareness. It is colorless, faceless, and formless.
Yeah.
That's who we are until we condition ourselves by using some beliefs and values to become another person, to become aware of another person. The power that I talk about, inner power, inner mind power, the greater power is in each one of us. It's not outside of us. It's not somewhere in the universe. It's within us. And we're all connected to this power, this unconditioned consciousness, which gives each one of us the power to go back to our original self before we were born. I'm just want to say before we were born, before we acquired other beliefs and values from other people. It's not like a blank mind theory that many Western philosophers use, which they just, a tabula rasa, you have a blank mind. The consciousness that I am talking about is always available, but we cannot use the consciousness until we let go of the one that we have conditioned. And then we begin to believe that this consciousness and power that I am talking about has been defined by someone else. You have to define it for yourself. And therefore, if you break these barriers down, then all 7.5 billion people on this planet break down all of the barriers that's separating us, causing us to believe one way or the other, that this system is right, this system is wrong. And then when you break the barriers down within yourself, then you not only see yourself differently, but you see other people differently. Therefore, you're thinking and living from a different perspective. Yeah. And that is somewhat difficult for many to think in this country. How can how can, say, someone that look like me think differently than the group thinking?
Yeah.
How when you see me, there's a belief system that comes into place. And the belief system is based upon the beliefs and values that we've all acquired in the countries where we're living. Let go of that belief system and value system, and then you're able to perceive people differently, and then understand that regardless of the perceptions that you may have of another person, that person has this great power within themselves.
Right on.
And we speak to that power. So when I speak to the power of enlightenism and empowerment, it's present in a homeless person. It's present in someone that is seem helpless. That power is there. They were born with the power. But when life itself causes you to believe that you need a rescuer, somebody that's going to come rescue you from the conditioning that you have done to yourself without realizing that you were doing it. And then you reach points in your life where you feel like you're helpless, you're powerless, you're a victim of the circumstances in life. And enlightenism is a philosophy to say you can take care of yourself.
Right on. That in itself be true. Oh wait, let me let those sound waves go away. I'm getting an echo. Hang on a second.
Okay.
Test. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, that's very cool, man. Thank you for the summary, man. Let me ask you this. So, well, let me just say this first. This community, which I'm just a part of, just like everybody else, many of these people have had the same type of understanding that you do. They've had traumas, they've had conditioning put upon them by this realm, or however you want to describe it, by ourselves, whatever. And kind of, people talk about awakening. And there seems to be a movement, if you will, that's taking hold and getting some traction in a big way around the world. But one of the things that we talk about on this show, among many things, is how do you detect the programs that are running you? And in other words, how do you find the unconscious programs that are running inside of you so that you can apply the approach that you just described?
Well, first of all, you have to have a desire, then you have to have a commitment. And then you have to have, from my experience in my work, you have to be willing to reach a point where I think this awakening that is occurring all over the world, people reach a point where the pain becomes unbearable. And now you're looking for another way to heal the pain, overcome the pain. To get to the point of the unconditioned consciousness, you first have to realize and understand how you became the person that you are. So enlightenism begins with understanding the awareness of being, the belief system, understanding the frailties of the belief system, understanding that just taking the English alphabet and understanding that language itself is shaped from all those words, those letters, and then they take on a reality that is not consistent with who we are, but what we use as interpretation. We have the power to create another way to communicate, another language. Anything that has been created, we have the power to create something different.
Yeah. Would you say that we have access to any and all things through this type of approach, that we can reach out with that desire, with our power, with our love, whatever, to expand and be better and contribute, from a service standpoint to the universal, to humanity? I mean, would you say that we have the ability to reach any part of infinite intelligence?
Yes, that's what this is about, is that we've limited ourselves. So we create something and we become mesmerized by our creations, then we limit it. We limit ourselves because we become so caught up in what we have created that we limit ourselves to
Mm.
do something entirely or diametrically different than what we have created. So if you create something like a telephone, computer, whatever, there are other ways to communicate in this world if we're willing to let go. Todd, the difficulties.
As an example, are you talking about telepathy?
Well, I'm talking about a form of telepathy because you have to look at it this way. If we're living in a universe where there's other places where computers don't exist, language don't exist, bodies don't exist, then there has to be some type of form of communication, and it's not what we're using to communicate with. So what is the other form of communication? And it is our consciousness. It is our minds. It is not so much minds, but it's our consciousness. So we can communicate through great distances by changing what we think about ourselves, how we think and live.
Exactly.
This
You
is the
feel
breakthrough you feel in the awakening around the world is because it's in the world. Enlightenism is a term I'm using. Other people can use different terms because language is finite, it's limited, but we're all feeling it.
just
And we
another
all
name. It's
around
like,
the world that we could create something different.
yeah. It's just another name. I mean, you could call it Holy Spirit. You could call it Soulogy. I mean, Soulogy doesn't have any written material, other than post and people what they contribute, but it's the same thing, right? I
Yeah.
mean, everything you fit right into this neighborhood. Everything you're saying is what we talk about every day. Now, there's something a little bit different that we don't really hit head on all the time on this show. And that's what's going on in the world because we realize it's a distraction and it's a distortion. Anything that takes our attention and focus away from ourselves is really, in some way or another, going to deplete us. So you had mentioned that you just re-released this book, and you said that you did it because of what's going on. I think you said in the country or what's going on today.
Right.
I'd like to just dive into that a little bit and see what we can come up with, and see where the conversation goes. So tell us about your book and why it applies and what it applies to as well in our everyday experience.
Okay, this is the book. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's
Who's that guy on the cover?
yeah,
Who's that model on
it's
the
Brother
cover?
Malcolm.
Looks like Jimmy. It looks like Jimmy.
This is the book, The New African American Man.
Right on.
And ironically, I wrote this book in 20-some years ago. And I wrote the book, it was The New African American Man. It was my first journey into consciousness empowerment and understanding myself and getting through some of the issues that I had with my life and my interpretations about life. So when I saw the television program, and I wrote about this in the book, when I saw the program about George Floyd dying on television,
Wait, hang on. Let me stop you for 1 second because you said something I found it really interesting before you go into that part. So you said that when you wrote the book 20 years ago, that's when you started going into consciousness. That's when you started. Okay. So the reason I was interested is because was it the act of writing the book that was your exploration into consciousness, or did you actually hit that point and then say, "Oh, I'm going to write a book"?
I think it was a combination. I was feeling pain at the time I wrote the book. I was feeling disappointment and a lot of other factors that were going into my life. I was a businessman at the time, and I wanted to find out what else was available for me in life. And then I began to write. And as I began to write, it took me 6 years to write the book. It typically takes me 4 or 5 years to write a book because I'm writing about original information from myself. And so I'm not using the traditional way of writing books.
Wow. So you're very interesting. So you write a book, you're really writing the book through your real-time experience. And your real-time epiphanies, revelations, and the work you're doing.
Correct. And
far out, man.
Each time I write a book, that's what's happening. I'm writing about the journey. I'm on a journey. And this journey is to unlearn and recondition. Recondition my consciousness so that I am free of the pain that I cause myself by thinking of myself a certain way. So
Right.
the book was written about approaches to life and how similar people are thinking in 2021 as they were in 1998 when the book
Wow.
was first written. Very
Wow.
similar. It's,
And
it's
so,
all,
and so, obviously, in the last, well, forever, really. But I mean, there's been a lot of internet, the expansion, I guess, on the internet awareness of some of the many, many inequities and, you know, uh, unfair treatment of people in all different ways. And we know that we're all not victims and we're expanding our consciousness. I have a feeling that this book, and you're re-releasing it, you're addressing some of these issues
correct.
from this philosophy that you serve, that you pull down as a conduit, because it sounds like it's very in depth. How does the book take on what's happening? In your opinion, is it from the words or the spirit of it?
Well, so you look at what happened, you look at the approaches, you look at the methodologies, and they were similar to situations 20 years ago. And what I am talking about is that there is a different way to respond to events that we see happening in our lives. And that different way is to change what you think of yourself, your awareness of being. Then you can get new methodologies, new strategies to approach problem solving of things that you find a problem. The individuals find these things as a problem and they take sides. And the sides are coming from a system of thought they've
Right.
been using all of their lives. And then when they want to have a dialogue, they approach the dialogues from the system of thought that causes them to believe they
it's
exist in the first place. So they want to be right.
it's
They
a
want to sit and have a
listen.
conversation and think that you can have a conversation when you're using a flawed system of thought.
What's that old saying? The definition of insanity is doing the same
Yeah,
thing over and over again
right,
and expecting a different result. So it sounds like what you're saying is that, and which we would totally agree here in this community. What you're saying is that you have a message, or part of the message in this book is that when you look at, let's say, global events or national events, or the
right.
mainstream media stuff, right? That your approach is to not even go there, so to speak, but just go straight to yourself and remove the belief system that had you react in a certain way, and replace it with one which is focused on yourself, and you move on down the road, right?
Absolutely. You said it. Absolutely. That's what it's about. That's what the philosophy is about. That's what the message is about. And then everything changes in your life. Your perceptions, your interpretations, because now you are interpreting events from a different perspective, a different belief system. And the different belief system is one you have discovered for yourself. So you're giving yourself a new birth. So it's analogous to saying you're being born again without the mythology and with all of the other things. You're actually creating a new person. And the new person have attributes that are diametrically different than the
Mm-hmm.
ones you use to create the pain in your life. And
Right.
the pain is coming from simply within your mind. All of our pain comes from our interpretations about what we see happening in our lives and outside of us. And then we make judgments about what I call this giant illusion, and the illusion is presented as power, and then we can't see beyond the power because the illusion has distorted our perspective on life, and we're not seeing clearly,
Yeah.
and therefore we don't know what's behind the illusion. And what I am talking about is get sufficient clarity to go beyond what's behind the illusion, and what you will find is behind all illusions is a system of thought, a belief
Exactly.
system, of
Exactly.
values.
So it's kind of like we look at the David, and we think it's a Goliath, and we look at
Mhm.
ourselves as the David when we're really the Goliath. It's like upside down. So you were mentioning George Floyd, the incident. And if you want to go back to that and go where you were going to go with it, but also I wanted to ask you too, how did this happen to you? Now, a lot of people come on this show and they have all different types of communion, I guess, with in different faces of infinite intelligence of the universe. Some are angelic, some are galactic, some are elemental, some are just, a voice. I mean, uh, how did this happen for you? I mean, what is your connection like with source, with the universe, with God,
Well, one of the things, having been born in this country and taught about the source and taught about how to connect to the source, I've always been curious about the statement, greater is he that is in you than is he that is in the world. And I wanted to know what this was. And when I looked at myself, there wasn't anything great in me.
Mm.
Oh, I didn't find anything. So when I tried to meditate and do other things, what I found in me was all the things that I had been taught, what I believed in, and that I wanted to find out, is there something else? So my background in education is in philosophy. So I've had a curiosity
Mm.
about things and wanted to know what makes life work. And so I wanted to discover for myself. I wanted to find out, do I have anything in me that's different than what I've been taught? Can I do something independent of my education, my experiences? And that put me on the journey. And the journey then became looking and examining my own beliefs and values in my life. And that took me into some painful experiences of having to write about things that were very painful to me as a child and as an adult. And then that pain brought out clarity to
Mm.
understand why I felt this way.
So the books, or at least this first one for sure, uh, this was your awakening. I mean, this was your uh,
Sharing.
what people call shadow work. I mean, it's actually uh, describing, like I said earlier, in real time, what
Yes,
an awakening's like through the story that you're telling.
that's correct. And I write books along the way. And I've had friends that I've talked with, and that have a belief that you need to achieve total clarity before you begin to write. My philosophy is write and share where you are
Right
and
on.
share the information with others. I'm not dealing with seeking perfection. I'm dealing with the experiences of the journey of waking up, and to say to those who feel victimized by systems of thought that it's your unwillingness to let go of the system of thought you've been using all of your life.
Right on.
And that causes the pain. And Enlightenism is to say there is a bridge that you can create between the toxic developed you and the Enlightenism developed you, if you're willing to travel over and let go of it. What I have found from my own experiences is that that's a greater difficulty than the words that I'm using, because in real life, there's an unwillingness for the masses of the people to change by changing themselves. They try to change systems, they try to change
Mm.
things. They want people to come together. They dream about unity without claiming the unity within themselves, the conflict within ourselves, where we have this conflict about who we are, what we represent, and all of this. So I wasn't like the person that you hear many people talk about awakening. Who am I and what is my purpose? I call those are the questions that are very prevalent to many people who are beginning their journey of waking up. That wasn't one of my questions. See, my question for myself was, who am I without that which I've learned from others?
Mhm.
And then am I willing to go to this place within myself and discover it? And I was, and I am, and I'm continuing to do this work. And if I can bring and share some information with the world and with other individuals about my journey and encourage others to take a pause in life and begin to look at how you acquired the beliefs and values that you have about race, color, gender, age, status, religion, and education, then you'll have a greater understanding of this person that's making all of these decisions and thinking the way that you're thinking, so that you can do something about it. But if you once get there and you become focused on any one of those labels in the society where I'm living, then you cannot move, because you have already accepted you're of a certain race, color, gender, so on and so forth.
Exactly. And I mean, and I want to say a couple of things real quick, and I want you to keep on rolling. One is, we have a saying on the show, which is, and we talked a little bit before the show. I said we're just going to have a conversation, spontaneous. So it's, we try to do it spontaneous, intuitive, creative, imaginative, and depending on what we're talking about or doing, courageous. All the I am soul, which is the Enlightenism, right? And and I love the way that you approach your work, these books, because those are the things you're doing it with. You're doing it spontaneously, and you know what I mean. And I love this this story. It's an amazing story. And where are you going to go with it? How far are you going to take it? How deep are you going to go? What are your plans?
Well, I'm going to take it as long as I can do the work. Then I do the work, and that's my expectation. I want to share this information with as many people as I can. I do not try to change people. My only message with Enlightenism is that you have the power to help yourself. Mm-hmm. And this unconditioned consciousness is real within you. It is the mechanism that we have within ourselves, regardless of where we are in the world, regardless of what prison we place ourselves in by our thinking. Yeah. We have this power to get out of it if we're willing to let go of what we think of ourselves. Sure. So it continues, Brother Todd, until it continues. My message continues until Brother Malcolm is not talking anymore. Right. But Enlightenism and the awakening around the world will continue after Brother Malcolm and Brother Todd, because I think there's something live.
I want to take a chance here. I want to take an example. Let's try to mix some things together from this frequency of, metaphysics and spirituality and COVID-19. And we don't normally talk about this stuff, but I want to throw a question at you. COVID-19. I'm Todd Medina. I'm Malcolm Kelly, whoever. I'm living in the world with 8 billion people, and COVID-19's been rammed down my throat for 15 months. Using Enlightenism, take me through the process that you would use or recommend to deal with COVID-19 and all of its little cottage industries, such as vaccines and quarantines and all that stuff.
Well, one of the things that I share with others, and I share them with myself, is that viruses come every year in different forms. I focus on the virus of the mind. And that virus has been planted. It comes every year in many different forms. COVID-19 makes people afraid because of the dissemination of the information, the fears that they may have. What you will notice about any type of virus is its effect or impact is determined by the condition of the individual. The alignment of the mind and the body before things happen, not the reaction of things after they happen. The preparation, the health, the dietary issues and concerns, the physical exercise, and the mind, because to put it in balance so that you're not just overwhelmed by stress and so forth, which causes many things to fester and to find a feral body. So that's the first thing. It's not the reaction that the system, the people that are disseminating information, they're afraid because of the fear that they're not prepared. And understand that the antibodies that go into a vaccine is natural within the body when the body is cleansed and healthy to fight off the viruses. And that's the same thing with the mind. That's the same thing I was talking about with the George Floyd. You can't wait until it happens
Right.
to react. There is a preparation that goes into
What does
your,
the Bible say? Physician, heal thyself.
huh?
I think the Bible says, "Physician, heal thyself."
Yes.
Right.
And that's a good statement because you're healing also the mind
Hmm.
and you're not becoming victimized. See, the more serious virus is what I call toxic beliefs and values. And those toxic beliefs and values prepare individuals to respond to events that cause them to have great fear in their lives about living and dying. But are you dealing with this in a moment to moment situation? How does someone deal with the fact that they're obese or they have some issues in their lives? You forget the things that you did all do throughout your life to produce this effect in your life. We're producing these effects in our lives based upon our thinking, the way we think about ourselves, the way we think about others, all of the things we're carrying around in our mind and body about other people, all of the anger, the fears, the worries. These are things that come from a system of thought that we're using. And my approach to life is do it in a moment to moment thinking.
Right.
Do it because that's where the decisions are made. The
Right.
decisions are made in the future when something happens. The decisions are made in the moment to moment. And if we're unmindful about it, we're not mindful of what we're doing, then we are putting cumulative ideas, beliefs, and values that must produce something in your life. And it
Man,
must produce something.
you're preaching. You're preaching to the choir, but keep preaching. I love it.
Well,
Hey,
well, this
let
is
me ask you. Let me ask you something. Maybe this is a little personal, but you just speak as you wish. What's your inspiration? What's Malcolm Kelly's life like? I mean, what drives you? How's it going for you? I mean, your level of service is as good as they come. But yourself, what are your drivers in your life?
well in my life is like anyone else. I'm using beliefs and values, and I am using beliefs and values that I'm creating for myself. I'm moving away from group thinking. Removing my thoughts from the group ideology. I'm an individual that's part of a collective of the world, and I choose not to be victimized by what the world views are and to live my life where I'm a victim or powerless or I feel helpless. I see things in life and I can get out of enlightenism and I can drift out for a moment. And then the fortunate thing now is what I couldn't do several years ago or 10 years ago. I know that.
Yeah.
I know that I have ventured outside of myself and then I can feel the victimization of what's happening outside of me. Now I'm focusing on things outside of me. I don't try to change things outside of me. I'm not trying to change the George Floyd situation and the people that have different positions on George Floyd. I am saying that there's another way to think and live and interpret what happened. And there is a way for us to come together, not by words, but by changing our beliefs and values and letting go of the system that divided us, which was a system of thought. And if you're still using that system of thought to justify your life, then you are dividing yourself from other people. And I'm not living my life that way. I am living my life to do what I choose to do. And what I am choosing to do is to stay on this path, to gain more insights. And the longer I'm on the path, the more insights I get. 2 years ago, I had some insights. 2 years later, I have some different insights.
Right.
But they're all coming from my experiences. To be open, to see, one of the things that's important for me, I don't judge spiritual ideologies or religions. It's a choice someone makes. My journey is to be free so that I have the clarity of expansion. So to go beyond things without the judgments or without trying to convert someone or change someone. The change is within me. And if no one else in the world changes or choose to change their lives, do I stop my work? And the answer is no.
So
I
you're
continue on this
you're
journey until I am no longer here. And then the journey is not coming from me, it's coming from whoever is here.
yeah. You're number one, which I think again this community can totally relate, is you. If you do Malcolm, everything's gonna everything's going to it's just going to be like a trickle down effect. I mean, you're going to affect the external by the work you've done within yourself, which is directly related to how you feel about yourself, and you obviously and you obviously consider yourself, and rightfully so, a divine being.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the power that's within me, it has no beginning, no ending, except in my own awareness of being. And this power is universal, and it goes all over the universe for all of us. And this great power is consciousness, unconditioned consciousness that is not moved by what Malcolm conditioned consciousness thinks or do. It remains whole, perfect, and complete. I'm just the one that moved away from it. And now I'm doing the work to return back to my wholeness, to restore my wholeness so that I can perceive myself whole, perfect, and complete with nothing being wrong with me, except when I think something is wrong with me based upon the system of thought that I'm using or the belief system that I'm using. Then I start judging other people as being right and wrong. I'm not dealing with right and wrong, because that's a system of thought that knows neither right nor wrong. It has a system of thought that tries to teach people that this is good, this is bad.
Exactly. Would you say that your approach, in this community, people use the term zero pointing, integrating or merging polarities. Would you say that your approach, you can look at, as a result of it, you can look at, let's just say whatever the issue is, two sides, pro this and anti this. Can you? I mean, is that one of the byproducts? You can look at something like that and see them both in the same frequency, the same value, however you want to put it.
I can look at life itself in the situation without the polarity and to say that it is something that I am seeing, that I'm experiencing, and it's being experienced by an awareness of being that I have conditioned myself to believe that I am this person. I can change that person and experience it in a different way. I can experience things based upon the condition and the power and the clarity of my mind. I don't deal with an event and judge it right or wrong, because I am fully convinced that we don't know what is right and wrong. That we have systems that we create, that we decide what is right and wrong for the way we choose to live on this planet. But that's
the operating system we're all down here replacing. Hey, this is funny. Our friend Gabrielle, I think she's over in France. She says, funny enough, I lived last year with a Malcolm and with his cat Kelly. Miracles and blessings, dear Malcolm.
Yes. Yes.
So, what's your support system like? I mean, are you a recluse that lives alone and up in the mountains in a cabin? Are you in the city or yeah?
Well, my life is just like anyone else. I can get inspiration washing dishes. I get inspiration exercising, walking. I get exercise just going and sitting in a place of people. I don't deal with a lot of solitude in the sense of physical solitude. When I wrote my books, I spent some time writing them in solitude, but I would go and write them in public. I'd find a fast food place where I could just sit and watch the people and write. And that's an unusual way for some people to write. They feel
I like it. I like it.
Get in solitude.
All the great writers were known by certain nicknames. Yours is going to be the cheeseburger author.
Yeah. Well, see, I would just watch the people. I don't eat. I don't eat.
I'm just messing.
I'm a vegan, but I don't eat those type of products. But it's a place to drink tea and so forth, and get an observation. The mountaintop thing is, and I'll be very brief with it. The mountaintop thing is an interesting concept because I think I've heard people talk about it, and I think I heard the Dalai Lama talk about it, that you can be really spiritual or holy, separated from people in solitude on a mountain. But when you come down among the people and you get all of the toxic beliefs and values, all of the resistance to your peace, to your clarity, then that's when the work shows up. See, the work doesn't show up in a vacuum like we're in some university having intellectual gymnastics where we're just talking. The work shows up when you take all of your work and you go into an environment where people are not thinking and living the way you are, or thinking or interpreting the way that you are. They have their own beliefs and values, and then do what shows up in you in that moment. Are you there to tell people, like what we typically do, I know what's best for you, right. I know what to provide for you, rather than talking to the person to say, you have this power to provide for yourself if you're willing to let go, as I said earlier, of the way you think and live. So I work diligently not to be on the mountaintop, but to be with people. Even the people that I see shopping who may have toxic beliefs and values, can they move me out of my clarity by some action, some statement, some interpretation that I may be making that may be toxic, and I have to revert back into my own wholeness? That's where the work is, Brother Todd. It's interacting with people who may not even agree with what you have to say.
I love this, the metaphorics of it too. Maybe like at a micro level, you're what Earth is at a macro level, where we're going into the most dense, populated, energetic place, and finding that peace that we can find on the mountain.
That's right. Because if you can't find it, see, if you have opposition and then you dislike the people because the people disagree with you and they have their own point of view, their own philosophy, and then you get upset with the people, then you want to impose your way of life, your thinking upon someone else. I'm very cognizant of the fact that I don't want to impose my ideas on anyone. I want to share this information as an alternative to the system of thought that I used in my life and that I was born into, which meant millions of other people use that same system of thought. And here's a way out. Here's a new system of thought, if you're willing to discover it for yourself.
And there's being that, at some level we are energy, right? Light, or whatever you want to call it. Correct. There's got to be, when you talked at the top of the show about being able to access any part of infinite intelligence. At the same, by the same token, if there's, 100,000, 1 million, 10 million Malcolms, Todds, whatever out there, reaching for and trying to sustain themselves in that frequency that you're all about, that's got to be growing. And I would imagine that would have to be having having at least the level of influence that the programming had on us. I mean, it's got to be affecting us. It's got to be reaching other people, don't you think?
Right. Well, I agree. I reach people in many different ways. Same great work that you're doing. So you're doing great work. You're providing this platform for people like me and others to come in and talk about something about uplifting, awakening, raising the consciousness of individuals. This is a commitment that you made, and we talked before the broadcast, and I said, man, you're really on the air all the time. Well, that's your commitment. See, that's the piece that you're putting out into the world. Brother Malcolm over here has another piece, and someone else has another piece, and then we join together in wholeness. We're on the same journey. We're on the same journey. We're just doing different expressions, different terms. And that's what happens when we all come together collectively. We don't have to do everything the same way in order
I love this. I love this, man. This is like the hour of power. Remember that show, The Hour of Power? Hey, God. So we're going to have to head out here in about 5 minutes because we got a show back to back. But I want to give you an opportunity to talk about what you want to talk about. But before I do that, I want to just make a statement. So what I've learned today is, in a metaphorical sense, that the virus is the acceptance of things as they are, and the vaccine is to thine own self be true, and taking full responsibility, the self-reliance of the soul, the independence and integrity of the soul in a conscious lifestyle. This is what you're talking about,
right?
So thank you. And so Malcolm, if there's anything you want to do, this is the part of the show where the guest, the friend, can sing, dance, can lead us in a meditation. They can talk about anything that you have coming up. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit more about when your radio podcast is on, and where people can find it, and anything else that you want to talk about.
Yeah, you can go to Blog Talk Radio /Malcolm Kelly. And I'm on the air Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, Sundays at 10 a.m., Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 12 p.m. You can just type in Malcolm Kelly's Powers of Mind Hour, and you can listen to the broadcast. And you can get it on a podcast later. If you can't call in to listen to it, you can get it later by just going to Blog Talk Radio. I also would like your listeners, and viewers, to get the book, because the book is important to me. It shares ideas and information that we've talked about on this broadcast. It gives you another person an insight into the journey of a person who spent years working on this lifestyle that I'm talking to you about and that I'm able to talk to you about. It began with this book, The New African American Man. And I think it's important, and I think the work is important, and I think that my blog, The Enlightenism, Brother Malcolm Kelly's Enlightenism Insights, is available to read at any time. Just going into, just type in the browser, Brother Malcolm Kelly's Insight. So that's the work that I'm doing, but I'm interested in what the perspective would be from someone who has lived, say, a different lifestyle, would think of the new African American man and how it correlates or parallels their own life. And I think that would be really beneficial in terms of awakening and changing how we think and live and changing what we think of ourselves. So that's the thing that I have to say as we close the broadcast, and to thank you for giving me the opportunity to have this wonderful conversation with you.
I'm honored. I'd love to do it again. Brother Malcolm Kelly Insights.com. Is that right?
Yeah, you can just type it. Yeah, you just type it.
All right, I'm gonna put it out on all the platforms.
All you have to do is just say Brother Malcolm Kelly.
I just put it out on all the platforms.
And then it will take you to all of the information about the books, the blog, the radio, and all of this information that others, particularly your viewers, can check out for themselves, see the work that is being done by me and others.
Right on. Right on, brother. Let's do it again. Let's do it again sometime.
Yes.
And tell your friend behind the camera over there, thank you for being a part of this as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
It's probably like my bride. She doesn't like being on camera.
Yeah. Well, she helps me all the time. She participates on the Sunday show.
Yeah.
Great insights from her. So
Who is she?
Sister Carolyn,
Who is she?
huh? It's my wife, Carolyn, and she's all
I was trying to pull that out of you earlier because I knew there was a connection. I could feel her energy.
Yeah. Well, hey.
Hey, we're gonna be right back with Brian Gerard Schaefer, a new friend that I've never met, and that's probably, I hope it's as good as this one. I'm sure it will be interesting. So you guys join us in 5 minutes, and we'll see Brother Malcolm down the road and his beautiful bride. Hopefully, she'll make an appearance.
Okay.
All right, you guys take care, and
Okay, you too.
all blessings to you always, and to all your all your loved ones and yourself. You
And
take
the
care.
same to you.
All right, brother.
And
I'll
more.
see you.
Same to both of you guys.
All right.